George!
Joe!
Happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year, buddy. How's things?
Well, I was a little more enthusiastic than you were, so let's try that again. George, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Joe!
So it's Season 2, Episode 1.
It's kind of a big deal.
It is, and since we are doing that whole audio only in a few spots, why don't you go ahead and tell people what they're listening to?
Oh, yeah, I keep forgetting about that, even though we've got big news about it tonight that I'm going to let you talk about. But right now, everybody's listening to Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with your host, George C. Romero, and Mr. Joe Wrigley.
Something like that. Like
what
I said,
are you going with tonight?
Miss Samantha Wagner kind of butchered my name the other night. So I figured that I kind of put that down there like it is on the website right now. Yeah. So from Sam, I got Rigsby.
Yeah. Okay. You've gotten Wrigley on the show. I've gotten
Wrigley. Everything but Ridgely. I don't know why that's so difficult. I mean, I guess it's not as easy as Romero.
Yeah, I guess not. It just kind of rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Well, listen, man, Happy New Year to you. Happy New Year to everybody watching. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody's holiday season was good. We've got a little bit of a sad thing to talk about tonight. A good friend of mine, a good friend of Joe's, and a good friend of the Indie Brigade, Dustin Blankenship, passed away on New Year's Eve, sort of unexpectedly. He was a good guy, and he was a phenomenally talented effects guy. It really kind of shook us, and he's very much missed, and it kind of messed us up pretty bad when we heard about it. So we wanted to kind of just, dedicate at least tonight's episode to Dustin, and just let everybody know that he's always in our thoughts. He's missed, and our thoughts obviously are with his family through these times too.
He was a huge supporter of the Indie Brigade. I mean, there's his baby right there with the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade badge underneath it.
Yeah, I know.
And the one movie he was really, really proud of.
Yep.
That he did some effects for, Child of God with James Franco. So definitely will be missed. It was not a good New Year's Eve.
No, it wasn't. I mean, it was, I think news literally dropped right around midnight. Anyway, if anybody out there is having a drink tonight, please raise a glass for Dustin in the name of the Indie Brigade. And Dustin, we love you. Always will.
Absolutely. All right, now I'm depressed, George.
Yeah, I know. Now we've got to sort of... we got to kind of snap back into it. We got to do it kind of, if nothing else, in honor of Dustin. Let's, he wouldn't want to sit. I absolutely know for a fact he would not want us sitting around fucking depressed. So let's.
This is true. He'd be smoking a cigarette right now, busting our balls.
So fuck you, Joe.
A couple of quick people on here. We got Dawn. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Dawn. Happy New Year, Chuck.
And we got
Sean. Happy New Year. You should be getting your T-shirts soon.
Right on. Sean with the T-shirts. That is a beautiful thing.
And just about those T-shirts real quick, get your T-shirts, get your hoodies, get all your merch at romeropictures.com/merch. We're going to get a little bit more into the website expansion after our first guest, Joe Castro, and before our next guest after Joe, Mr. Michael Mandaville. We've got some cool stuff to talk about, some cool guests in between. And we appreciate everybody tuning in and paying attention to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with your host, George C. Romero and Joe Ridgely.
Behind the curtain in a moment. Special shout out to Gregory Mark Wheels. Great guy, fun guy, great supporter.
Very exciting news coming from him, too, with his First Floor Killer project. I'm very excited that he has asked me to kind of step in and help him out with some stuff, and I think it's a really exciting project, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Now I got an issue.
Again?
Well, this isn't my issue.
You have more issues than National Geographic.
Well, no, the problem was Joe went black for a second. Not me. Joe Castro, his screen went black, so there he's back. So okay. We're good. I am going to bring up Joe Castro right now, and just like that.
Joe. Oh my God.
Can't hear you guys.
You can't hear
For
us.
some reason, the audio is completely gone. I don't know if you can hear me,
shit.
but I can't hear you.
Yeah, we can hear
I
you.
don't know what happened.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, in true Romero Pictures Indie Brigade fashion.
I have no idea what's going on here.
Well, I'm assuming you're not going to be able to read lips. So
I can't hear you guys at all.
Yeah, I know.
Perhaps a reading while you troubleshoot this. What could I read to
Yeah.
people? I've got some Shakespeare in the other room.
Do you?
Yeah, I could go get that.
Let's see.
Let me try putting the headphones in. Maybe that might work.
Let's see. So I'm going to go ahead and read through some of these comments while you're trying to solve.
I don't know. Let me try this.
This, Joe. Elena Damewood will say,
Can you hear me now at all?
I appreciate that, Elena.
Yeah, we can hear you. Hold
on.
on.
Yes, the speaker is on. Yes.
Okay.
This is where all the cool kids hang out, Ron.
Oh, God dang it.
What's up, Libby?
Can you hear me at all?
Yes.
Oh, there we go. There you go.
Oh, you can hear us now?
Good. Yeah,
Do you have me too?
Yes, I can hear both of you.
Woohoo!
Awesome. All right, look at that.
I just had a phone call from Paramount basically, and I had to take it, and that's
No
what
worries.
happened. And I got missed.
Oh, so wait a minute. You're saying Paramount's more important? We get it. All right. No, it's okay.
I still have a key from Paramount somewhere. Probably shouldn't say that.
I'm gonna.
Joe Castro, welcome to the Indie Brigade tonight. Thank you for coming. Thank you for putting Paramount on hold for us, sir.
Joe and George, thank you for having me on the show. It's a complete honor and a total blessing to be here with you gentlemen tonight.
Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you as well.
And happy holiday season. And I don't know if you knew our friend Dustin that we were talking about who passed away, but
I do know Dustin. He was my friend on Facebook, and I know. Yeah. I saw the post, and what can you say? But this world is it's a very unfair place, and we're taken whenever we are taken. We don't have a right to say when we're taken, and I know that Dustin and all the artists that have gone before us would want us to continue doing what we do best.
That's right.
Making the world a better place, one movie at a time, right?
That's absolutely right. And that's kind of what the Indie Brigade is all about, Joe.
Yeah.
I'm not talking to Rigsby.
Yeah, I'm going to disappear now. Bye-bye.
I'm thrilled to have you here, man. I really am. We've talked a little bit on the phone, and we've been circling around stuff together for a long time. So it's exciting to me to have you here and to talk and to have you talk to the Indie Brigade about some stuff that people probably other people probably don't ask you to talk about. But, first and before all of that, I would love it if you would just kind of tell everybody a little bit about yourself, who you are, what you're up to, and what's going on.
Well, my name is Joe Castro. I was born and raised in Helotes, Texas, on a big goat ranch where I decided at the age of 7 that I wanted to make movies in Hollywood, and my family made that possible. My father made me promise him to chase my dreams and never stop chasing my dreams. And, my family bought me a movie camera when I was 12 years old. And when I was 7 years old, my dad introduced me to Godzilla versus the Smog Monster. And right then and there, I knew what I wanted to do with my entire career at the age of 7, and I've been out in LA since 1989. And I've had the honor and privilege to work with some amazing people in the industry, men and women that are my mentors and my heroes and are legends and people that are still in my life today that I consider, angels and complete masters of the craft,
Absolutely. I'm just taking some notes here. Joe Rigsby always gets on to me. We're all just busting his balls. Joe Ridgely always gets on to me for not looking at the camera, but I take a lot of notes when I talk to people, so I'm constantly looking down.
That's all good.
So, first of all, what is this guy behind you? Tell everybody who might not
this
know.
character right here is it's like it's my classic gray alien from a brand new movie that just came out this in 2019 titled Xenophobia, which was a 20-year project with my partner Steven Escobar, who I've been with for 22 years, and we made the very first ever alien abduction anthology movie. And if you like classic practical effects and you like the Twilight Zone or what's the other one? The Outer Limits. You will love Xenophobia, and it's out right now. You can get it on all the whole media platforms. And well, I tried to do. I wanted to do all the aliens practical, kind of like the cantina scene in Star Wars, and
Sure.
I wanted to do something original, And whenever you do something truly original, it's very hard to feed it to a mass audience. But I'm kind of like it's as a gift and a curse. I try to do something truly original. People crap all over it, and then 5 years later, everybody's doing it, and and I'm the one left out of the loop for bringing it to the forefront. But that's what I do. That's been the entire basis of my career. I try to do something that has never been done before. And I don't want to look back at my career and say that I've made the same movie over and over again. You know, yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's one from. I got a couple of aliens right here. I got this one right here, which is one in the front of the film, and I just kind of I wanted to like do like aliens that were very classic to what people think an alien is. To something all the same features as a human, just slightly disturbed or mutated because of the different chemicals that are on that alien's planet. The same with this guy right here. I have Dr. Carnage over my right shoulder. That's why I keep going over to my right shoulder. But over the years, okay, most people don't know I'm a practical special effects artist, and I'm also a digital effects artist, and I've directed features and written features. But down, deep down, I'm just an artist. I'm an artist, and I try to create things that are truly unique, truly original, one of a kind, and that's why people hire me. That's why people come and seek me out. They know I'm going to make something, very edgy that's never been done before, and it's going to be something unique, one of a kind. Yeah.
Well, listen, I love that, and I love what you're saying about just doing something that's never been done, doing something original, but most importantly, being an artist. Because at the end of the day, that's what we all are. And I think a lot of people, especially a lot of young indie filmmakers, and tell me what you think about this, I think they lose sight of that sometimes when they get their head down on a mission, right? So now you spend this time growing and being inspired and coming up with an idea and being creative and writing it and getting it ready to shoot and going to shoot it. And somewhere along the way, you forget that you're doing it all because you're an artist, and you fall into the call sheets of it all, right?
Absolutely. And I want to add to that most artists are alone in their own head.
Yeah.
And they have these conversations with themselves, the trials and tribulations of feeling happy, feeling amazing, feeling good about what they're doing. And they're the only person having those conversations. But they need to understand that every artist has that conversation. They're not alone. They're not alone. And something that I've learned after, I've been doing this for 37 years.
Yeah.
And after 37 years, I realized, there are different kinds of people, but artists are all the same. And we all need to, be responsible for our own creativity.
That's right.
We have to be in our work. We have to be in our business in order to be happy. We are responsible for making our own art. And even when we're not being employed, we have to continue seeking that out. And I noticed that my director friends and my artist friends, they're when they're not employed, they're crazy out of their mind. I'm like, dude, you need to make something. Yeah, I don't care if it's a 2-minute film or a sculpture, but you need to go make something. You need to make something now, and that'll get you back on track to what you're doing. Yeah. So the point is, my point is I always try to keep busy, and always keep trying to do something. Like I said, that's never been done before. Keep challenging yourself. I think over the past 3 or 4 years, I've really come into my own calling of what I wanted to do. And even though I've been doing it for 37 years, I kind of feel like I just kicked open the door to the whole thing. So
isn't that crazy, right? So just for anybody listening, we're chatting right now with Joe Castro on the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. I'm putting that out there for our audio listeners only, Joe. So this is a new thing for me. I gotta figure it out. But anyway, sorry.
Sorry.
So this is something, right? So basically what you're talking about is something that I talk a lot about, which is nurturing your inner creative, right? And you mentioned that your friends, you got a lot of friends who are good. They're nuts when they're not doing something, when they're not when they're not on a job. And that's another thing, you get to a point in your career. And I mean, this happened to me at one point where you get to one point where you're trying to get through these doors. you've gotten through a certain set of doors, but the next set of doors you're trying to get through, certain things that you've been doing have to change a little bit because it's going to be perceived differently if you're trying to go up the ladder, right? So then at some point you make the decision, like I did, fuck it, man, my artist is more important to me than any level of success that anybody else might perceive, right? So I have to nurture my inner creative. For me, I do woodworking, or, you know, like I make custom furniture and props and all that stuff. And then beyond that, if I just need like a quick creative fix, I'll go into the kitchen and put on some jazz and make some crazy fucking dinner that, you know, out of the blue, or crazy, you know. But it's like you said, you have to make something, and you've been doing this 37 years, and you feel like you just now broke through a door,
literally.
Like so right. So how do you nurture your own inspiration, and how do you make sure that you're staying on track with doing things that other people have never done? Does that question make sense? Like, how do you take care of that?
Absolutely. How did I get that? How did I do that? How do I do that? Well, I do that by remaining teachable. Okay. I have 37 years. I walk into a movie set and I'm handed a special effects assistant.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
yeah, no, I get it.
You know, and I mean, I've been doing it for 37 years, you know, they know some stuff. I'm still teachable.
Right.
They may teach me something, but what I've noticed more and more is that they got a lot of knowledge and they got something they want to teach me, which is fine, you know. And and I'm a good listener and I'm a good learner and quick learner, and I have to remain teachable. I have to consider the idea that someone knows something better than I know, and I do that even when I'm working with like a director. You know, a director will tell me, and I've shared this on other shows, and I'll share this with you. How I got to where I am right now is that I remain teachable, and I'm always open to new ideas, especially when it comes from like a filmmaker or a director. You know, I collaborate with the director. I don't come in with like this idea of how amazing I am as an artist and I know better than you because my imagination is so amazing. That's not my job. My job is literally to extract what's in the director's mind out of his mind and produce it. So yes, I am being an artist, but I'm a tool. I'm a tool to his imagination, and that is how I've been able to break through that door. I become even more of a team player. I know even less now because I go seeking for knowledge out of the director's mind, out of the costumer's mind, out of the actor's mind, and I bring it into my own work. You know,
well, and you have to do it that way. You know, I mean, it's a collaborative process. And as a director and as a filmmaker and as a producer and somebody who has hired crews and worked with big crews and small crews, the one thing that I do with every project that I work on is I very happily and voluntarily include everybody in the creative process on some level, because everybody is there for a reason. Everybody from, you know, my dolly grip to the effects team to everybody's there for a reason, and that reason is their experience and their ability and their passion for their job. And so by being able to truly collaborate and talk with everybody, you're going to come up with a project. You're going to empower your crew to care creatively about the film, because everybody on the crew now has a piece of it, right? Creatively.
That's right.
And you're going to collaborate like you've never collaborated before. And you're going to see this come to life in ways that is going to allow you to do things you've never done before. But now here's a question for you. And this is a very practical question. Okay. So now you go on to a movie and you talk to a director, and he's a young director, and he says, I want you to do that thing that was in like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Right. And you say, okay, great. But what if we do it? No, I want the thing from Close Encounters. Because you know that happens, and I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I've seen
how do you
happen.
steer those people towards something that challenges you and help them out of those ruts, right?
Yeah. Well, you give them an amazing option.
Yeah.
You give them something that they can't turn away from. That's where the artist comes in. Yeah. You give them something, you're like, oh wow, you know.
Yeah.
And how do I always start with reality. I always start with reality, and I make something, I create something. I always do pre-production designs. You know, big studios, they do pre-production designs for a long time before they actually get down to creating the thing it is they are, because they do prototyping and pre-production design. And I never sit down in front of a piece of clay without having already done some sort of design work.
Right.
So I give the director something that I give them something so amazing on paper that they can't deny it. They're like, yeah, that's what I want, you know. So that's where you come in, and then all the businesses aside, and you can begin being creative, you know, because you're both are on the same page.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We got some questions coming in for you here. For these questions are for Joe Castro on Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. For anybody listening to the audio, I'm gonna run this into the ground, Joe.
Okay.
So let's see. We've got Lance Wagner asked Joe Castro about calling information to get Savini's number.
Oh yeah. So I when I was like 10 years old, it was 1980, and you could call 411 in your hometown, and you could get like the area code to like another state and the phone number to their 411. And if you were listed in the phone book, you could find anybody's phone number, and it was easy to find Tom Savini's phone number. So I just called him on the phone when I was 10 years old, and I had a relationship with him over the phone for like the time I was like 10 to the time I was like, I believe it was 14. And he talked me through a whole bunch of stuff, and he taught me over the phone. I mean, my imagination might be wild, but I remember one time he was on the phone with me for like 45 minutes trying to explain to me how to put air in a compressed a chemical fire extinguisher to do the head cut off from Dawn of the Dead, and he personally explained to me how to put that together. And that's just the kind of man he was. And he was always a teacher. He was always a giver, and he was very kind to me. And even when I met him for the very first time in person, I asked him to autograph something, and it's just he just autographed. He didn't ask for any money. He was nothing. He was such a sweet, kind man, and he always has been to me. And he's such a huge influence. I can't describe how many things in my life are because of what that man has shown us all.
Yeah, I know. I talk about that all the time. He used to mess with me in his shop when I was a little kid, and I would go over there with my dad, and it was like a wonderland for me. Put another comment up here from Elena Damewood that says, I try to help bring inspiration to the director's effects on explaining what all the experience as member of Exorcism Holy Order. Totally agree with you both. With both you, we all work as one team to create our films come to life. Elena consults on films about exorcisms and things like that, which is very cool. And I'm very excited that she's kind of found the Brigade and is paying attention. And welcome to the group.
I want to have two things on my mind right now. One, I need to keep track of the time, because I have to be out here at a certain time.
Oh, okay.
I have a very, very pressed schedule. And two, I just wanted to, it's a couple of fun facts. I want to just get out there so we can do whatever we want to make sure that we don't run time. Here's a couple of fun facts. Most people don't know that my partner, Steven Escobar, and I have the Guinness Book of World Record for the highest body count in a slasher movie. It's 155 on-screen kills. And just like a lot of people hate on the film because a lot of it's done digitally, but it was all shot practically.
Yeah.
And the thing was, it was very gory. So I went back in and I put a digital pass over it, so it would be more mainstream and get to a bigger market. And that's like something that happened there. That's a fun fact. And then secondly, I was honored to create the special effects for Blood Feast 2, which was Herschel Gordon Lewis's sequel to his original slasher movie. And Herschel, was a man that has also done so many things for this. First of all, I mean, if we all could sit and pick apart his films and how much his films have influenced every horror film ever made, it would almost be impossible, because there's something about what Herschel did in his first movie, Blood Feast, that's in every motion picture of horror or slasher ever made. Really, truly, that man also was a big mentor and influence in my career. Bring Stevens, I want to give her a shout out. She's been an amazing woman in my life and has totally directed me throughout my career and brought me and to be like literally the man I am today. Show me how to be a kinder person, a more professional individual. Also, I don't no longer have my family in my life for reasons that we'll talk about some other time. But, I have a family, and my family are these people. Herschel was part of my family. Brink was part of my family. Freddle and Ray also gave me my first film credit as a key special effects artist on Evil Tunes. And just all these people, amazing people that are still in my life today. I wouldn't be where I am without them, and I have to give them a shout out about that.
I'm glad you did. And I would love to have you. I know you got to go, but I would love to have you on again and talk a little bit more in depth about some of the stuff you're talking about, and talk about the fact that it's not like it used to be anymore.
It's not.
People used to help each other out. People joke about it.
Yeah, that's true.
It used to be collaborative.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm more than happy to bring someone in and show them what I do and explain to them what I do. But there's no love or family connection there. It was different, you know. It was big, like literally. I hung out with a group of guys at a special effects shop, and we were each other's family because we were
That's
all
what I
about the
mean.
same age,
Yeah.
and we were all. It doesn't happen like that anymore. Now I do have some very talented professional people. My friend Lisa Lex, who I consider my special effects assistant, and she's more than an assistant to me, but she's a woman that I have in my life that I work with on set, and she's going to be an amazing, she is an amazing special effects artist, and we collaborate. She makes my work better, you know. I have her around, so I once again seeking out new ideas and new people and new places, and other than not having a real bond to like other special effects artists anymore, and I don't know, that happened about a decade ago when no one was talking to each other anymore, and all the little shops kind of went away. I have a fully functional special effects shop in Los Angeles, in Van Nuys. I have a converted 2-car garage. I have everything you can do in a big shop here, and if anybody needs anything that they can or can't imagine, they can definitely give me a shout out, and we can do that. But I won't do something that isn't small. Every job I do today it's very important to me. Very important. And I take it very seriously. Everything, even if it's just a face or a mask, it's very serious to me.
Look, if you don't take it seriously, then you're not doing your inner creative any justice, and all you're doing is pissing it off. And then, then you're screwed.
And also, I'm representing people that have come before me who taught me how to do all this stuff. That's why, right. And that's why I freely give away some of if someone asks me something, I will show them. I will show them how to do it. It doesn't mean that they can do it themselves, but I will show them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Joe, listen, I know you got to go. Before you go, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet and all that other stuff.
Okay, great. You can find me at facebook.com/joe.castro. Send me a friend request, but more importantly, send me a message and say hello so we can talk and make some movies. On Instagram, my handle is Joe Castro Director. And, check out Xenophobia. It's out right now on all the home media platforms. If you like practical effects, you're going to love this film.
Awesome. Well, Joe, thank you so much for coming on tonight. And,
thank you, gentlemen, very much.
Yeah, and best of luck with everything, and go get back to Paramount and your press tour.
Yeah. You know what? If you guys need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out and say hello. And if I can, I'll make it happen.
Listen, join into our community if you haven't already on Facebook. And
I'll send them an invite.
Yeah, and we'll make sure that we get you involved in the conversation as much as humanly possible.
Okay. Oh, one more thing. I was going to post on my Facebook page. If anybody wants to make films with maggots and they don't want to kill actual maggots or put maggots on their body parts and stuff, I'm going to post an alpha channel digital maggot that people can duplicate and put on their body parts and stuff, because we no longer have to kill real bugs on film. Right. We can do it digitally. And I'm a big supporter of not doing that. So contact me on Facebook if you want a digital alpha maggot that you can put in your film so you don't have to kill real bugs.
All right. You heard it here first, everybody. And I want to have you back on just to talk about that for a while.
Thank you very, very much, gentlemen. All right.
Have a great night, man.
Good night.
Bye-bye.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Man, I love his energy and I love his spirit. He's so awesome with the way he thinks about the collaboration and everything. It sucks he had to go so quick, but I get it. He's on this press tour and all this other stuff. So
Paramount's more important than us, huh?
I actually have my Paramount. Look at this. Here, watch. Here's my old Paramount badge. I used to have an office there too.
Yeah, well, I got some press passes behind me, but it doesn't compare to that. So
I have a key for it somewhere.
So digital bugs, bugs are people too.
How cool is that? And you know what I love is that he's just going to be posting it up for free. I mean, that's the kind of thing that people charge a lot of money for,
right?
Especially in the indie world.
I love this hashtag.
I love Joe. I love that he came on. I love his energy. He's a good Joe. You're like a bad Joe.
George.
There it is. Blame Joe.
So for those who are audio only, yeah, there's a hashtag blame Joe across the screen right now because that's what we love to do.
Yes, we blame Joe for everything, whether it's his fault or not.
I would not have it any other way.
Can we get a shirt that says Maggot Lives Matter? Also, anybody else who asked us questions or anything for Joe that we didn't get to, we try to go back and get your questions answered. Joe was on a tight schedule tonight, so he had to get going for some.
And just so everybody else knows also, when it comes to comments and everything, I'm the one pulling them up. I have to figure out when it's okay to interrupt or if it's going to be seen. So don't take it personally if it's not like the right time or anything, but they will be addressed later on if they're not brought up.
I like this. Poor bad Joe.
So yeah, confusing with Joe's tonight when you're saying Joe, and so yeah.
That's why I try to make sure my tone is, very up and respectful toward Joe Castro and very sort of like, how I feel about you toward you. Joe, I love you.
Well, you see, I'm confused with this one from Wheels right now.
Wait, so, yeah, he's probably talking about the other Joe.
Wheels, are you talking about me or? And we got Aaron on. His energy was amazing.
Yeah, his energy is phenomenal. And I love his story about Savini too. Savini was very much that way, especially back in the day. And he had this great spirit and energy about him. And I think probably again something else we didn't get to talk to Good Joe about was the fact that since Savini kind of mentored him over the phone randomly from the age of 10. I'm sure that had something to do with developing his love for sharing his knowledge.
Well, holy crap, man! You're 10 years old and you're talking to Savini on the phone, and you just like 411'd it,
right?
Well, thank you, Lance Wagner, for that tidbit. That was cool. So I'm not sure what this means. No go, Joe. I'm assuming that's to me, but hey, it is what it is. We need. We do need a Blame Joe shirt.
We're working on it, Ron.
We're going to put that on the website.
The only reason it's taken so long is because it's fucking Joe's fault.
Oh, we got Wheels responding. Nope, you. Thank you, Wheels. Appreciate it, brother.
Oh, man, you got one in your corner.
Yes, Dawn, we can see you at this time through YouTube. Thank you for being on YouTube. So we do YouTube and Facebook at the same time live. So that is awesome that you're over there. Okay, so got Todd. Someone said a huge announcement is coming up.
It is true. It is coming up. It's actually, the announcement was technically made yesterday as promised. But I need to clear this up before we get into things. When I originally said the announcement was going to be on January 2nd, I actually had my date screwed up and thought that the 2nd was Friday and that I was going to do it on the show. But that didn't happen. So I kept good on my word because accountability. And I made an announcement full of all kinds of stuff last night on the Facebook page for the Indie Brigade. And tonight we're just going to kind of drill down through that and talk about a lot of the great stuff that we've done in the current website expansion, talk about some of the stuff that's still coming, and introduce you to some folks who are part of the new Indie Brigade 2020. So I'm actually just going to pull up the website so I don't forget anything or miss anything. And Joe, are you there?
Maybe.
Oh, you fucking jerk. All right, so why don't we jump into things here and kind of go over everything with some folks. I'm just moving some windows around here on my computer because I need visual aids because my memory is...
Facebook doesn't seem to keep up the comments better. Well, on my end, that is. I'm actually the one bringing the comments up, so that would actually be me, Sean. I don't want to like interrupt people when they're talking, and then they have a tendency of looking down at the comment instead of finishing their thought, and then they get kind of flustered and trying to multitask.
Sean, it's totally a hashtag blame Joe, Sean.
Fair enough. Now, wait a minute. Is that Joe Rigsby or Wrigley?
Well, I don't know. It's kind of up in the air right now, and one of our participants in the announcement can actually probably chime in on that, because we have actually Lance and Samantha Wagner with us tonight.
Well, she's saying Wrigsley, so
it's Wrigsley. It's Rig. So it's not. So now we need a fourth one. Great. So let's jump into things here. We've got some cool stuff coming. We've got, first and foremost. Well, what order should I go in? Should I talk about the Trailer Fest first? Why don't we talk about the Trailer Fest first? We have actually launched an online film festival that's 100% completely free, called the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade Trailer Fest. Yep, it is a film festival for trailers only. It's super easy to enter. All we ask for the submission fee is that you like and subscribe to all of our shit, and that you listen to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with your host George C. Romero and Joe Ridgely, and get your trailers submitted. We've got some pretty cool prizes, as a lot of people who watch this know. I do a lot of custom woodworking to stay sane creatively. One of the things that I've designed is actually a camera front box out of some nice exotic hardwoods and things like that. So the first place gets one of those, and then the second and third prizes, and the additional prizes for the first place are things like mentor sessions and other really cool stuff. But I'm not going to tell you all of that. You've got to go to the website at romeropictures.com. You've got to sign up for the newsletter. You've got to like our stuff. You've got to share some things, and you got to do some reading. But as filmmakers who are constantly trying to figure out how things like permits work and how everything else works, it shouldn't be hard for people to go out and read about what's going on and figure it out and upload some fucking trailers, man. You know what I'm saying?
No.
Jesus. Just upload some fucking trailers.
Like a trailer?
Some trailers to the Trailer Fest. The Romero Pictures Indie Brigade Trailer Fest. Moving on. Joe, stay with the program. So, we've done a lot of this as sort of a website expansion. And if you go to the romeropictures.com site, you'll see an Indie Brigade. You'll see a link for the Trailer Fest. You'll see a link for distribution, which is very cool. And I know.
Well, let me interrupt you right there, though. If you haven't been on the Romero Pictures site in the past week, there's been a huge change.
There has been a huge change. Maybe you should talk about that part, because I was doing it, so it doesn't seem like that big a change. I'm just calling it an expansion. But,
well, I just wanted to make it sound more enthusiastic and better than, this is George C. Romero talking about the expansion of the website.
Oh, we're doing impressions now? Hi, my name's Joe Rigsby, and it's my fucking fault.
But you gotta have some enthusiasm, man. Get the people into it. Come on, the website is blowing up. It's freaking huge.
I'm moving my fucking web browser over your face. So, like Joe Rigsby, Ridge man.
Whoa, wait a minute. I got Dean on here saying Joe just ruined my moment.
Don't worry, Dean. I got you.
Wow.
I know Dean is paying attention tonight, and he was going through some stuff over the holidays too. So, but I'm very excited about our distribution label. If you go to the romeropictures.com website, you'll see a distribution link where you can learn all about our new distribution label, which we are now, as of today, officially taking submissions for films for our distribution labels. We have two of them, Romero Pictures and the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. They're phenomenal. Dean and I have put together a really great filmmaker-friendly program that's designed to put money in filmmakers' actual pockets and get viewers on their projects. Two of the most important things for independent filmmakers. So that's our first and foremost goal with the distribution labels, and that is what we have figured out how to do. And so go to the romeropictures.com website, read about it. More reading, I know. It's research. I know, Joe. I didn't write it in like Seussian, so I get it. But,
Spell it.
There. Huh?
Spell it.
IT.
Hey, take this one from Robert.
Robert Hancock, what's this say? Digital decomposition could change the indie movie world slowly, but it's a process. Well, that's an interesting point. I would actually like to talk to Robert a little bit about that point. That's not something that I can just read and then just kind of have an off comment about. What I would like to do is encourage a conversation about that statement right on the website there. I would love if people could chime in on that. I know that Dean would probably have some interesting opinions on that. And there's some other folks who are watching tonight that I think would have a really great point of view on that. So I would love it if some people would get involved with that conversation. Paul, the Trailer Fest is just for trailers. It's any kind of trailer. It's a trailer for a film. If it's a trailer for a show, if it's a trailer, it is eligible, except for all of the reasons that are stated on the website as to why it may not be eligible, which would include things like if it's already been distributed, or if it's out there on Prime, and if it's out in theaters. Like it's got to be. There's a list of it. You got to read, but it's trailers for anything.
Okay, read this one, please, from Dean.
Fuck you, Joe.
Thank you, Dean. I appreciate it, brother. Love you too.
It says "Love you, Joe" from Dean. Dean is a phenomenal member of the Indie Brigade. He's also the vice president of acquisitions and distribution for Romero Pictures. And I'm excited for all of you to get to know him. He's just been sick over the holiday, so he was unavailable to join us tonight. But we are hitting the ground running this year, and we're taking submissions all through the website at romeropictures.com.
Well, to address another comment, Dean has that long title, and seriously, Lance is going to talk about me in 3 names when Dean's title is this long? Okay, good luck with that. We got Eric saying that, love these live shows, George. Miss you, buddy.
Miss you too, man. Really, I sincerely do. When I saw you found the Brigade, it warmed my heart. I told my wife all about you. Missed the instant replay, man.
We got Ron. We'll be submitting in February. Thank you, Ron. That's awesome.
Yes, it is. And I should also mention that we're going to be doing a new Trailer Fest every 3 months. So if you don't get in for this one, make sure you get in for the next one, and so on and so forth. And you're welcome to submit multiple projects as well. So, just not in the same 3-month period. So you could do movie 1 this time and movie 2 next time, or whatever. So it's just the whole thing is designed to just promote collaboration and conversation among us, and get us all talking and get indies working together. And there was this truly collaborative spirit back in the day in the entertainment industry, and it's trying to get it going now is like pull starting a lawnmower, that's been sitting for a while. And so that's just another way we're trying to do it. We just want a conversation to get going. So everybody join up, submit your shit, and come be part of things and talk about all this awesome shit with us.
Okay, so Todd, I don't have 3 names. Apparently I have 4 names, and Samantha Wagner will actually address that in the comments, I guess, when the show's over. So we're going to have a new one also, #blame Sam. All right, let's see. One more thing,
right along.
And then we're going to... That is what it's all about right there, Keith.
That is it. That is it. We're a family. I mean, and the Indie Brigade, I mean, we're all extended family, We're an island of misfit toys, man. Most of us are the black sheep of the family. Most of us are the weird friend. Most of us are the people out there that we kind of spent a long time when we were younger thinking people didn't get us, and the reality is that's not the fucking case. So that's the Indie Brigade, man. Welcome to it.
So I'm going to start bringing some of these folks up. What do you want to do first? How do you want to go full blast and bring? Let
me just talk a couple of things real quick, and I'll be real quick. And then
sure, no. You've got the stage.
In addition to the website expansion, we've added our audio podcast, which I'm going to have to bring Joe back up on that because he's got a list of everywhere that we're at right now. We've been picked up by a ton of different places. The Indie Brigade podcast is now available in audio only mode on Joe, do you have the list handy? I mean,
Yeah, you're going to make me look that up right now.
iHeartRadio, Spotify.
Keep talking for a moment, and I'll get right on that.
Oh, good. I'm glad you're prepared. Moving on. We are offering some other services as well. We've got the free podcast. We've got the drone cav, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes with Terry Gerald, and that's something that I'm very excited about. We are working on a document template repository, I guess, if you will, where we're going to be, they aren't there yet, but they will be there within the week. We're going to have things like call sheet templates, budget templates, scheduling templates, production expense reports templates for your script supervisor to use, all kinds of documents that are going to make the life of an independent filmmaker a hell of a lot easier. We're now offering some other services that are not quite free, but they are services that we think, based on experience, people will want and will want to be a part of. We're offering script services. So we'll do notes on your script. We'll do a dialogue pass on your script. We're going to be adding a lot more services for the screenwriting side of things. We've got a very cool section called the mentor services, where we've got right now, in addition to me, there's 4 of us now. So we've got me, we've got Jimmy Starr, which is another exciting announcement of ours. Jimmy Starr is our official publicity partner for our distribution labels through Romero Pictures. He's a phenomenal publicist, one of the top in the world. He has one of the top podcasts himself in the world right now. And he is joining the Brigade to be our exclusive PR partner for our distribution label. Jimmy is available to book as a mentor if you've got questions about what to do to promote your film. We've got Mick Strawn, tremendous friend of the show, production designer, effects guru, willing to share his information, available as a mentor for hire to people interested in the Indie Brigade. And we've got our last guest of the night tonight, Mr. Michael Mandaville, who many of you remember from our season finale, who's one of my best friends in the world and my mentor when it comes to screenwriting with a calculator, how to budget and schedule films, and how to think rationally and logically about my creative process when writing, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit. So those are some very cool things that we have going on. Did you find that list of places where people can read about or people can hear the podcast yet, Joe?
Yeah, don't take this the wrong way, but George, I have it up now. Got it up?
I took it exactly how you meant.
iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, RadioPublic, and Breaker. And we're on the list for about 8 more. So there is no excuse whatsoever not to click one of the links on our page and subscribe if you're one of those audio-only folks.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't figure out how to follow the podcast and pay attention and listen, at this point, we've made it as easy as possible. So we'll just be angry at you forever.
And we got Facebook and YouTube still. Don't forget that YouTube channel. If you're watching on YouTube, click that subscribe button, please. And the little notification bell, it helps us out a lot. Same thing with Facebook. Hit the like and subscribe or whatever it is. Eric, you have a very valid point that I rudely tried to interrupt George with earlier, but
I saw it. I'm so glad you brought it up again. Eric, I thought you were my oldest friend.
I like Eric. We got Santos Martinez. George C. Romero, bro, love what you do. Bringing in Lance and Sam. Woo!
Awesome.
Lance and Clegg. Oh, that's an artist, I believe. And all right, so you ready to bring some folks on, or?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, do you want to bring them all on at the same time, or how do you want to do this?
Well, yeah, why not?
All right, so I'm going to bring up the Wagner Wiles first, and then I'm going to bring up Terry. So let's get everybody on here.
Look at that. It's Lance and Samantha Wagner and Terry
Hello.
Gerald.
There's Terry.
Hey, Terry.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Can you hear us?
We're not sponsored by Verizon. So.
Can you hear us, Joe?
Verizon, if you're interested, email us at rp.
Guys, how's everybody doing tonight?
Good. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, absolutely.
Testes. Okay.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Everybody.
Season 2's underway.
Season 2 is well underway. We're deep into season 2.
By the
Very
way,
deep. So,
There it is.
Lance,
Oh,
are
look
you
at
saying
that.
you have a xenophobe coming out of you? What the?
yeah, that's Joe's movie. That's Joe Castro's movie.
We
Yes,
just
it
had
is.
him on. We know.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, now it's all come full circle. See?
Because that's right.
Right. So, so we're just going to break this down quickly and go through this with everybody, and then we're going to bring Michael on as well. So, on I guess wherever everybody is on the screen, we've got the Wagner Wiles with Lance and Samantha Wagner. The Wagner Wiles we're very excited about this here. This is our first sort of, I don't know what we're calling it, a spinoff. What do we call whatever we call? It's our first show, right? It's our first non-podcast show that's also a podcast. But it's very cool. Lance and Samantha, for anybody that doesn't know them, they're two of the best people in the world, and the love that they have for each other is it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen.
She's drunk right now, George. So
Yeah, I know.
I'm still upright.
You're still upright, or
Yeah.
I'm still upright.
I'm holding her.
I'm not impelling.
Well, let me just bring up the. Well, I wish you guys would have sent me the intro, but here it is. Romero Pictures Indie Brigade presents the Wagner Wiles.
That's absolutely it, and that's my fault. I didn't send you the intro, so you
I
can
asked for it.
hashtag blame George on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Here at the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with your host George C. Romero and Joe Rigsby.
Joe 3 names.
Or,
No, wait a minute. Is it Wrigley, Rigsby, or
As long as I just have it up there, I can just pick every time, and that makes me happy.
Yeah,
if I'm saying it, it's Rigsley.
Now it's Rigsley.
Oh, okay, so there was never a B. It was an okay. It was Rigsley. Okay.
La la.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
so
we
see,
can-
we need
we
to
can
add
play
another
that.
one there.
Yeah, we do, right, Terry?
We have
Yeah,
that technology.
we've got another option here.
So just to touch on the Wagner Wiles here, one of the greatest things about these two is the fact that their opinions on the movies they watch are often different. They often clash, and they're often at opposite ends of the spectrum when it comes to their fandom. And so what we think is going to be a lot of fun for people to watch is to watch these two kind of find a way to meet in the middle about movies they watch, because at the end of the day, you know, like if Joe and I have opposing views on a movie and we meet for coffee, I can be like, fuck you, your opinion's stupid, and I can go home. And Joe can do the same thing. These two don't have that luxury. They're stuck with each other through better or worse, and that means through watching movies together. So the Wagner Wiles is about. I'll let Lance talk about it. I don't mean to. I'm just excited.
So people know on the name too. We were going for the X-Files, and we wanted the WW. So we all kind of just settled on the Wagner Wiles. And Chris Attella got us a kick-ass song to go with the program as well. And the first one was a lot of fun. And George was the what's that?
The shit stirrer.
But it was
Me?
I was going for MC, but
Yeah.
okay.
Sorry.
well, he kind of pushed us in the direction because you'll see on the show. It was really good. I'm glad we did that first episode.
Me too. I just wanted to kind of kick it off and throw you guys into the deep end of the pool and see what happened. And
It was awesome.
You did a great job.
awesome.
So everybody tune into the first episode of the Wagner Wiles with Lance and Sam. And I'll
Really?
go ahead and tell you all, it's basically about how they can live with each other after comparing the original Suspiria and the remake as a married couple. So
That's right.
boom.
Thanks, Cliff.
Now, moving right on to the drone cab. This is something else very exciting to filmmakers. Anybody out there who's making an independent film and is wondering how to up their production value, we now have the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade drone cav with Terry Jarrell, and I'm going to let Terry just kind of introduce himself and talk about where he comes from and his qualifications and exactly what makes him the baddest motherfucker to ever teach you guys how to use a drone.
Man, I dig that. I need a T-shirt with that.
Right?
No, I need a wallet like Julie.
Yes.
Well, again, my name is Terry Jarrell. I'm a professional drone pilot based here in Central Florida. And I work in a few capacities as a writer on drone technology and a few things, but I've been working more and more with the film industry and indie filmmakers, and seeing it's kind of like that. Hey, did you know you could do this? Did you know you could do that? And it's that eureka moment, light bulb over the head, over and over and over. So I think we've got a lot of fun, cool stuff to bring out, because I'm trying to get the understanding across that drones aren't always these big, 200 feet in the air, these big panoramic shots of the beautiful ocean and all that. You can use these things as a low altitude, 4 or 5 feet off the ground, dolly, tracking, crane shots. I mean, they're a tool that you can just do amazing things with. And you don't have to spend a ton of money. It's a lot of technique. You can use a $400 or $500 drone, and if you know how to set it up, how to set the camera up, how to set your flight up, and handle all the details in post, you can get some pretty amazing results out of it. So it's more knowing what to do and how to leverage all this technology.
Well, and what's really exciting about it to me is that, I think that what we're doing is Terry's got a blog where he's writing articles about everything from how to pick a drone on your budget to how to use one and how to get licensed and all the rules and regs. But beyond that, he's also going to be doing some drone videos, some tips, tutorials, tricks, and things basically designed to help indie filmmakers take their production level from, point A to over the moon. So we're very excited about that here. So these are some of the new faces you're going to be seeing here at the Indie Brigade. We're very excited and proud and honored to have everybody involved who's involved. And I want to thank you guys for being here tonight. And Joe, you can tell everybody where they can find all of this other stuff, or do I have to fucking do that too?
Hashtag blame Joe. RomeroPictures.com. Was that enthusiastic enough?
Not really, no.
Yeah, everything is running through RomeroPictures.com. So go to RomeroPictures.com. You find the Indie Brigade link. You hover over it. You see.
No, wait a minute. So just so everybody's aware, we have
the Wagner Wiles. Romero Pictures Indie Brigade presents the Wagner Wiles.
And we also have
Romero Pictures Indie Brigade Drone Cav.
That's awesome. That was awesome.
So that's pretty good shit to start off the new year with, right? So far.
I think it's pretty awesome.
I mean, with that and the mentors, no, I can't even speak straight right now. You got me so excited, George. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I have that effect on Joe a lot.
Joe's aroused.
Yeah. That's not a microphone.
Wow. Oh, that escalated quickly. Oh, wow.
Where'd Sam go?
I think I just broke Joe.
That was awesome.
Wow. Why are you turning red, Joe?
Hebbiz blebbiz bah. On that note,
wait 1 second. Sean Smithson, you made a comment here, and I would love to address it, but it's 10 o'clock. We've got to kind of move on and get Mike Mandaville up here. We're on a schedule. But Terry, Sean Smithson made a comment about just found out Wednesday Best Buy won't sell drones to anyone under 17 years old.
Oh, wow.
No, wait a minute. How come it's cigarettes 21, beer 21,
drones 17? None of that makes any sense to me.
Yeah, that's craziness. That's the first I've heard of that. I'll look into that. One of the functions I mentioned before is I serve as the FAA Drone Pro locally here. And so rules, regs, things like that are kind of in my wheelhouse too. There's a lot of kind of just crazy and misinformation going on out there right now. So that may have prompted something with Best Buy or whatever, but I'm glad he brought that up so I can look into that and get an answer for it in case anybody.
All right, 10 seconds or less now. We got Scott Busey saying George PG-13. Thanks for that Mike comment, George, because Dayton's saying Mike. Really?
That's awesome.
Thanks, brother.
Wow. And we've got time to pull out the wine. Absolutely. And so that's what they said. Take a picture. All right. On that note, we have to.
All right. Well, listen, that's it. We're good. That's the big announcement. We've broken most of it down. New merch. We've got crew spotlights on our website now. Make sure you go and learn about our distribution if you're a filmmaker. Make sure you go and support Lance and Samantha and the Wagner Wiles. Make sure you come and be part of the Drone Cav. Make sure you check out our script services if you're stuck. Make sure that if you have questions about anything and you need somebody to talk to give you straight up, no bullshit answers, go to our mentor package or mentor page and find a mentor and ask us what you need to know. And
he is serious. He is absolutely serious about all this.
We got you. We got you. You just got to come, and the answer is always no until you ask. And the Indie Brigade is about starting a conversation. So get involved, get in the conversation, and let's make indie filmmaking as best as we can.
Joe wants to say something.
Do not be afraid to ask.
No, don't be afraid. Ever don't be afraid to ask. The answer is always no until you ask. So with that, Terry, thank you so much for coming on here and talking about the Drone Cav. Lance, Sam, thank you for coming on. Lance, thanks for being sober.
Yeah. Ish.
That's fine. Samantha, you're amazing.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for coming
The
on.
honor is ours.
It's all ours. It's all on this end.
Love you guys. We appreciate everything you do.
Yeah.
Love you
Love
long
y'all.
time.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
That was mine. Wah, 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 wah.
All right, everybody.
Michael Mandaville, you ready for him?
I'm ready for him.
Are you sure? You don't look ready.
Well, I told you, he and I already agreed to cut this short tonight. We're going to cap it at about 3.5 hours.
All right, but you got to let everybody out there know again what they're listening to, who they're listening to.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Really?
Appease me, please.
Everybody listening to the audio stream, you are listening to Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with your host, George C. Romero and Joe Wrigley.
Close enough. All right. Without further ado, here's Mike Mandaville, and I'm going to dip out. I'm going to let you guys talk, and I'm going to scan comments.
Okay. Michael.
Hey, how's
How's it going, man?
Well, I just want to say hi to Michael first, and then I'm going to dip
how you
out.
doing there, Joe?
I am great, Michael. Thank you for coming on again.
I like that Blame Joe hashtag. That was good there. I caught that part, and I go, boy, I could really use that in production.
Yeah.
You know.
Here it is again, ladies and gentlemen.
That was pretty good.
Well, thank you. All right, you guys have at it.
Thank you.
How's it going, Michael?
Not too bad. Not too bad for a Friday. There's only 2 days left in the work week, right? Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, exactly. Man, I don't know if you heard me saying, I told Joe that we were going to cut this short and try to keep it to about 3.5 hours.
Oh, that would be minimum. That would be then you and I having a coffee break and going back at it, When we got to talking, it was just supposed to be like, okay, let's see where we're at for like a few minutes. And then we talked for like 45 minutes. And
Yeah. And it's been that way for years, and I love it, and I love you. And for anybody who doesn't
we had a
know,
great time.
Anybody who missed episode 1 with Michael Mandaville, you're in for a treat tonight. Michael is he's one of my biggest mentors and favorite people in the world. If I think about it with regard to budgeting, scheduling, how to think logistically about a film, how to think with more of a calculator in my hand when it comes to screenwriting, it's this man's fault. And
now it's Blame Michael. I'm sure that's going to come up right there, right?
Michael is also part of our mentor program, and if you are lucky enough to get to pick this man's brain, you will. It's like taking the red pill. It's fucking crazy. So anyway, that said, I'd like to just kind of jump into it a little bit and talk about what we started talking about earlier today, which was, we've got so much to eventually drill down into with our young filmmakers when it comes to, practical applications of things we talk about. But I think I would like to kind of dive a little bit more and into a focused depth with you about screenwriting with a calculator. And first of all, why it's important. We can keep that part, kind of just a recap of last episode, but really kind of go into, just the tip of the iceberg on how to teach some of these young folks how to think like a big production when it comes to their smaller budgets and no budget projects, right?
Yeah.
So that said, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, one thing is, and I was pondering that because of course, we had that earlier conversation about that briefly, and of course, I've been thinking about it all day through my errands and everything else. And one thing that strikes me that is both timeless and almost quantifiable as a skill is, what are the skills you would learn if you're in big productions or small productions? And you can cultivate those. Now, it could be one of detail, one of patience, of which sometimes I'm in short supply. Not being unkind, but just like, let's get to the point, folks, kind of thing. And you and I address that one. And but leadership. And if you have a small budget project, you're going to have to exhibit a certain degree of leadership, enthusiasm, cheerleading. You're going to be a bit of a psychologist at times. You're going to be a
Instigator,
absolutely an instigator, a planner. And it's interesting how some of those techniques that you can learn on a low budget film apply to a big budget film. I think sometimes you're using money as a bludgeon, going, you're getting paid this, I need you to do that, and that's it, end of story. If you deliver that in very angry terms, so let's say the gaffer, you'll be surprised at the end of the show. Wow, why do you have $15,000 of L&D? Because no matter how much money you pay somebody, depending on how you treat them, is really, there's going to be some recompense there for a consequence.
That's right. And for anybody who doesn't know, L&D is loss and damage. And what Michael is referring to is, if you piss off the grip and electric department, when you go to return all the equipment you rented, a bunch of it's going to be broken,
missing, damaged, everything. Yeah.
Right. Which is why you need good insurance.
Very good insurance. And,
and the bigger asshole you are, the bigger policy you need.
That's it. Oh yeah, absolutely. In more than a few states that you'll definitely need them,
Yeah.
But I think there's attributes that you can cultivate in that regard, whatever the size of the film is. And let's say, by example, you have to solve problems. And I always look at it this way, where you have a server, and the server might be the line producer, the UPM, and the director, the producer, and it moves around a little depending on who's a good problem solver or not. But let's just assume the line producer to some degree, and the director, and having good communication there. Well, if you actually think of the gaffer, the key grip, the art director, the cinematographer as servers, well, when you send out the load to solving the algorithm, the problem, the issue, if you can actually invite them into your circle, somebody's going to have an answer. And I've worked with key grips. I mean, these guys have done 150, 250, 300 movies.
Sure.
So
you're going to listen to them.
What's that?
You're going to listen to them.
You're going to listen. You're going to say, oh, that's interesting. That's how you did this. And one time I remember we were working on a show, and we need to show the sparkle of the stars. But unfortunately, we're in Los Angeles, which has no stars almost, in the heavens, I should say. And so we basically got some beadboard and plugged some holes in it, and then put Christmas lights taped behind it.
Sure.
And he did that on a film, 25 years ago. He goes, oh, I haven't done that forever, because usually we have an expensive out. But in this case, we just needed a very inexpensive one. So, biggest challenge was going to find Christmas lights in June, but we did.
Right.
But you have a fix and at a very modest cost.
That's right.
You won't get that usually from people if you're, cheapest thing is to get a cup of coffee, you go sit with people that might be adversarial, which is a line producer, happens enough with me, and you actually start talking to people, and then they go, well, they're not such a bad guy or a bad person or whatever, but they may have this feeling initially. And now you've kind of, worked into their world and said, well, how do we make things work with you and their department, not just ignoring their department?
Right.
So all that's the same plays you're going to get with a low budget film. So it's a lot of interpersonal skills. So I think that timeless. And if you don't have something, there may be somebody. One time we were in a scouting in Austin, and was in Round Rock, Texas. I think it's just northeast of Austin. And we're looking at this cafe, et cetera, et cetera. Well, we go to talk to the guy who's the owner, been there an owner 50, 60 years or something, cooks a barbecue. And he is in his office, he opens the door, but doesn't really want to let us in. I mean, literally kind of like holding the door. And we're just talking to him outside in the hall. And I look in the back behind him, and on that wall are some like decorations from a soldier and some World War II memorabilia, like a bayonet from a M1 Garand, and, you know, things along this line.
Sure.
And I asked the guy, I go, hey, were you in the service, World War II? Is that the, you know, 3rd Armored Division? My uncle was in that. And, you know, he goes, yeah, oh, darn right. And so we started talking, and of course, you know, the door opens a little more, and the producer's like, get in there, Michael. But you find commonalities.
Right.
That allow you to have a good communication with people.
I know, fucking Joe.
No, wait a minute. In my defense, Michael and I spoke prior, and he wanted to be aware of questions and everything or comments. So I figured I'd break in.
True.
And
I've been
You
doing.
blame Joe on that one. You got to blame Michael.
I've been
there you
trying.
go. So you want to reiterate that? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's just.
Nope, that's true. You got to blame Michael, not Joe, because I said, hey, if they got questions, let's build the audience and their enthusiasm, Cameron. So that's me.
Well, Michael, you understand this as better than anybody because of the film experience. Even if it's not his fault, it's his fucking fault.
Well, that's true. I didn't know we were going to cover that ground, but that's true.
All right. On that note, now let me continue what I was doing because, you know, George made me. Mick is in the house, by the way. Hi,
Hey,
Mick.
no, hey, Mick. Actually, I did see one comment. Ron said, that's why I just kiss everybody's ass or
And
something.
there it is. There's Ron's comment right there.
You know what? I got to tell you that comment kind of bothered me a little bit, Ron, because that's not, you know, if you think back to some of the stuff Michael was saying, he's talking about leadership and enthusiasm. That's not kissing everybody's ass. You're not there to kiss everybody's ass. You're there to lead everybody and collaborate them around your vision as a filmmaker. You know, kissing everybody's ass is a good way to lose control. The larger your crews get as well. Do you agree or disagree with that, Michael?
I would agree with what you're saying. I think what you want to do is be considerate to people and understand, yet firm. And I think there's various ways to do that. Go, we're going to do this, not that. We're going to move in this direction, not in this direction. And indeed, no, I would say that's right. Ron, you could always say Ron is right in that, unless you listen to somebody and hear what they have to say. But then you have to be firm enough to go, well, thanks very much for your idea, but we're not going to go in that direction. Thanks, right. But keep thinking. Thank you, because you don't know when that one's going to hit. And sometimes some of the people that have had good ideas to use have been production assistants, in which case I say, well, the art director, the DP, or the key grips worked on 150, 200 movies. So you might be, to a PA, I'd say, you might be better if you're remembered for 5 good ideas than 5 good ideas and 95 bad ones. So certainly temper your suggestions to some degree, so you're roundly appreciated. So
well said.
You know.
Hey, really?
Well said.
Damon.
There are a lot of directors out there with egos that don't want to humble themselves and listen. There are plenty of those, and
yes,
I personally have seen some of them. Well, I've seen one of them get dragged behind a dumpster and beaten up by certain members of the crew.
I love that story. I really do. I'm sorry.
Well, there's certainly more than a few that deserve that, and I think that's a true observation there. I think there's been, you know, I worked recently with a couple directors that were very big in the 90s over the last few years, and what was interesting There's a story about Cecil B. DeMille, who was a huge director from the late 20s to 50s, 10 Commandments in the 50s, etc. And from what I understand, there was a guy hired to carry his chair. Now, if DeMille was walking around the set and decided to sit down, that guy was supposed to walk behind him holding the chair, so when he sat, without looking, it would be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And so he's the quintessential director with like riding boots, those kind of those pants wide at the legs. I mean, you know, he's kind of the epitome of the 20s and 30s dictatorial director. Well,
he is the caricature of it, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. And some of the directors that were big in the 90s have, and especially if you're not productive, you know, it's like Michael Bay is not known to be a particularly nice person, but he keeps making money.
Right.
Now, as soon as that goes down, and there's a problem with that, a number of people I know that have worked for him, that's that.
Yeah.
So you can do that, but I've seen it time and again. You don't get enthusiasm. You can get paycheck, you can get my time, but if someone looks over and goes, "Hey, the grip truck's on fire," not my job. Whatever. There's a cable. There's a problem. You know, the actress is on drugs. I saw her snort something.
Right.
Not my problem. So how do you develop a team? That's what I would say is the critical thing directors sometimes can miss on that.
Well, and that's interesting because a lot of the things that a lot of the budgets and projects that people who may be watching the Indie Brigade are out there trying to make or get off the ground, they're not films with budgets. They're not films where they can call up and say, I'm going to get a great insurance policy, or I'm going to be able to pay union rates. Or even be able to pay half their crew or any of their crew, you know? And so I think that this is sort of the foundation. This is like the basement foundation of filmmaking with screenwriting and filmmaking with a calculator.
Yeah.
Because so many people start out like we all did with nothing and no money and nothing, literally no idea how to do what you're setting out trying to do, no way to pay for anything, barely any of the gear that you need. If you're lucky to have a camera, you might be lighting things with a flashlight. JP, hold up. We have to have a budget. You don't have to have a budget to get started, but you're eventually, just like every filmmaker, going to get to a point where you're going to say, God, if I only had $5,000.
And, you know, JP makes an interesting point because one way or the other, I think you have to feed people. And that's only, you know, let's say if you work 10 hours, you're going to get them something to eat. Okay, so there's your start of your budget no matter what. You might not think it of such consequence. But let's paint an interesting, and you tell me if I'm digressing in the different direction.
No, I can tell you're going exactly where we're trying to go here. We're doing great tonight. We're laser focused.
We can't blame Joe yet.
Well, we can. Anything go? Did you get a flat tire today? That's fucking Joe's fault.
Joe's fault. Happened again.
Nick said prep.
No, he's right. In fact, I was going to say I actually did this film. I think it was in kind of the 90s or something, early 90 or something like that. But we shot on film, 35 millimeter film, shot the film, shot 15 days for $68,000. Now that was in the can, but wasn't through post. But the reason is because we had, like, as Mick just said there, like 8-9 months of prep. Now we literally got a location in Venice, California, before it became the poser-esque capital of the world there. But we got a location of a restaurant for $1 because we had the insurance and they liked us. We kept coming back and going, you know, we're respectful. We just need the restaurant and here's what we're doing. We met the owners. We established a relationship and literally $1 to cover insurance. And we were able to do that. And letting people know ahead of time what's their schedule and that they wanted to evolve from, let's say, a guy who did documentaries to shooting a feature. That was the DP's motivation. And then we wound up paying everybody, I think it was $250 a week for like 5 days. But then people go, hey, well, at least I'm making some money. And we set the location at one location at a house for approximately, I think it was a week and a half, 10 days. So then when we were on the move for these other locations, it was very limited. And people knew what was expected. And we also didn't, I would highly recommend not shooting 16 hours a day. You're going to just kill people. You're going to lose people.
Right.
I would say go in the opposite direction. Instead of shooting even 12 hours, try and see if you can have your act together to shoot 10. One, there's an important reason. People show up having had breakfast. After 6 hours, you feed them. Shoot for about 4 hours or 5. And at the end of that, you let them go before you have to feed them again.
That's right.
So there's another budget issue on top of it. But from a practical matter, you're actually going to save some money there.
But this is exactly the kind of stuff that you and I talk about for hours and hours and hours on end. And that I don't know that a lot of people out there just getting started or just starting to up their game really have ever heard anybody talk the way you and I talk about this stuff. And I think that's what people are really enjoying. And you're right. You know, it's funny as hell to say it, but at the end of the day, fuck, I want to try to finish up in an 8-hour day because I don't want to, I don't want to have to pay any overtime or any penalties.
Right.
And I know if I shoot for an 8-hour day, I'm going to get done in 10 and I'm only going to have to feed people once.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're right. And it literally is those kind of things are a great foundation to start your decision-making process about where you're going to spend your money.
And that's the kind of money that, if you think about it, you buy people lunch, you don't buy them dinner because you've let them go and release them early. Okay, that's good because you are actually then buying with that dinner you'd have to pay another day's shooting lunch because you've taken that and put it to next week or whatever it is. So you'd have 5 days of lunches or 10 days of lunches, but you would only have 5 days of lunches and dinners.
That's right.
So, and at that point also, remember, people have to drive home, then they need to rest, then they need to come back. And then they actually have a good cycle to do the work. Because if you're going to have a DP who says, okay, I'm going to be the cameraman, you may not have a first AC and a second AC. You might just have a first. You're certainly not going to have a loader. And you might also have the DP working on the lights, or somebody else is a gaffer griptrician kind of thing, working lights and helping you with that. So there's a lot of double duties people have to do. So they need the rest to accommodate that.
Yeah, and you've got your sound guy who's going to be your mixer and boom doing all of those things. And and those are things that, if you hire people with any experience, odds are they've been on shows where they haven't worn multiple hats.
Yeah.
And you're asking them to come onto your film for less money than they're used to working for, doing more jobs, performing more duties, and wearing more hats. And one guy, Damon, said, I'll feed you once, I'm not feeding you twice. That's how you would love to think. But when you work on a union film, and when you go so many hours, you have to provide second meal, and you have to provide overtime, and you have to provide all these penalties. Otherwise, you're fucked.
No, you are screwed. And in fact, from the union point of view, breakfast is a courtesy because you can have people showing up to work, breakfast having had. So you would have had breakfast when you show up. Now, on a large, extensive union film, that's not going to gain any positive responses.
No.
Their expectation is there's breakfast, people eat, they settle in, then they get their work. Lunch, yes, you have to feed them. Now, technically, you could actually say to people, go get your own lunch and then come back. However, that might be a 2-hour process. So you're going to lose people for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And because they have to drive, they have to get something to eat, they got to take their time to, as appropriate, and then come back.
Maybe have a beer or two, and then maybe have a beer or two.
People do that in France. I was working on a film in France, and we're in Paris, and I tell people, like, okay, we're going to break for lunch. I was the last one to break for lunch. It was at a restaurant down the street in where was it? It was in Le Marais, I think, which is northeast of, let's say, Notre Dame. And we're in this little place, and I was the last one to break for lunch. It's a restaurant down the street. I went there, ate, And then they started serving wine at the table, which is an American ocean nightmare. But that's what they did. And I was the first one to leave, I think, from lunch to get back to work. I think just that mentality. And the French said, well, the wine is important because this is how we lost the First World War, but is how we won the Second. I said, okay.
I saw a good cut. Sean Smithson came in, and his comment is in line with where we're going with this. You also have to pay for porta potties, parking, and security for their cars too. You do, but what Michael and I talk about a lot is if you know that you've got to pay for that stuff and you've got to pay for porta potties, parking, and security, then ways to battle that before you ever have to deal with that Michael and I have talked about are, you set yourself up so you don't need those things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you're shooting at your friend's restaurant and it's closed on a Monday and it's a day, there's a number of things you could do. Number one, if they're parking in that parking lot and people know it's closed and there's cars there, you might get a relatively inexpensive webcam, set it up to look at the parking lot, put up some signs, things are, under video surveillance. Okay, at least you've got some kind of thing for the cars. And then ideally, if you're shooting, in a friend's place, they're not going to charge you for parking. And then they usually have commercial restrooms. So therefore, you don't overtax the system because let's say the bar has more extras that you're showing up than you would have at your house if there's a scene there. But he's absolutely right. If you are doing a full-fledged production on Taken 3, we shot it near Cal State, Los Angeles, and you can look it up on Google Maps, the parking lot just next to the freeways where we shot. And I think I had 52 5 or 10 tons, plus the trailers, plus the lunch boxes, plus 300 and I think 78 people on the crew.
Jesus.
So it was extensive, and to say the least. And we basically took over the 710 freeway for 2.5 miles or whatever it was. So we had problems. I blame Joe, even though I didn't know him then, but I'm blaming him.
Yeah, it's retroactively his fault. Like, when he pops up, that means there's some fucking important thing. I don't know.
Well, it's not that it's important. One of the things he said on the last show, which was really impressive, and people starting to film or getting into the film career, get in your head. It was pertaining to, if you're going to film something, don't have great expectations like, I'm having a brain fart right now. Cruise ship is what you said. Don't plan on filming on a cruise ship if you can't friggin' afford it.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. I mean, the Cameron and I were dealing with this today, which is like, how many stories do people have in them? And it's actually what's interesting is the thread of the story that I think people are enthused about. And I could probably give you the context. And Cameron and I will talk about, our fathers or our kids, whatever it is. So you got a common thread there. And if you find that thread in a story, you start to wrap the locations around it. You haven't diluted the theme. In point of fact, I think people that like story will go towards theme and tone quickly. Now, the mechanism, when you have theme and tone, people tend to go towards, okay, so how are you going to illuminate the theme of reconciliation or whatever it is? But if that's the case, my father and I had differences of growing up in terms of, he was very much into sports. I wasn't. I was in the film and media, but somewhere he was into history. And we would watch World War II movies together, old classic movies, I should say. So we found, there was a point there where that's how we enjoyed our time with each other. But now if you take that and you say, well, what's the setting? What do I have available? And how am I illuminating this theme, this idea, which is really where everything starts, by what's available? And the beauty of it, as Joe is pointing out there, you don't have a cruise ship, don't write it in. But if you have your uncle's restaurant closed on Monday, the good news is you can go shoot something, and then you can go back there in 3 weeks if he doesn't paint the place, and then shoot pickup shots willingly with the actors, because the actors will say, oh, this is going to make me better. Great.
Yeah, just tell them that you forgot their close-ups.
There, you forgot the close-up. I need a part of you just scratching, the bar with your fingers nervously or something, and they will willingly do that to make your project better, I think, or if they're available.
That's right, because if whatever they do to make your project better, helps them as well.
Yeah.
Mick Strong brought up a great point. How rare is it the story is written with budget in mind? Mick, that's exactly what Michael and I talk about, is that more people need to do that, especially young filmmakers who are starting out with big ideas and no money. How to take those big ideas. And what Michael is saying right now is to basically take those big ideas and put them within the confines of what you readily have available within your life, so that you don't have to go out and require all this other shit.
Well, I think Mick asks a good question. And I think, how did he put it? He put it like, how often is it that a story is written with a budget in mind? I think, is that the way he put it?
That is what he said.
Okay. So
how rare is it?
Yeah. How rare is it? I think there's variations on that theme to some degree, where how rare is it the story is written with a budget in mind? I would say probably, at least 70 or 80% of the indie market is written with a certain number for sales in mind. Therefore, the budget, if that makes sense, Mick, because people are going to say, if I have such and such actor, I think I can do these sales. And once I get these sales, discount them, use an incentive, and I have to make it for this price. The conundrum lies in when you might overinflate certain aspects of the budget to where now you can't do it. And that means, like, if you're writing a script and on a $5 million movie, maybe the writer makes $60, $80, $100,000, 120, something like that. 125, 150. I mean, it depends on what it is, the heritage of the piece, etc. But by and large, you're not going to make $500 or $600,000. So if you're overdoing it in the budget, you're going to just blow it out of the water, and that's not going to work at all. So now, I would tend to say a lot of other independent films, and there's one I just read about by a guy named Hal Hartley, who's an indie filmmaker. I think I've seen one or two of his movies. It's been a while, but he even said, I think he's just going to raise $300,000 to make his movie, and I think tomorrow's the last day. He needs another $92,000. And so here's a guy that's, I think, made 4, 5, 6 movies at least over the last 25 years, or maybe he's made 10, but the point is that he's finding it difficult to raise money for his indie films. He has to make it for a price. So, and in point of fact, unless you're Game of Thrones or a number of other things, I think a lot of people just won't not address money issues. Game of Thrones was $12 million. Some of the episodes, 8 to 12 million. But I read about a TV show. What's that? Which
is nuts for a show.
I think it's insane, but I'm like, $12 million. I mean, there's some of it looked pretty amazing, I have to say, but yeah. I didn't watch all of it. I think I got up to season 3 or something. But I think one thing, what do we got here? We did a lot of stuff from simulating a window in a room with 3 branches in front of the light. There you go. A nice little Cucalores kind of thing there.
Yeah.
On the wall, some United expensive things. Made my own blood for said film. That's better than drawing your own blood there, Aaron, but that's good. Excellent.
Yeah, that's the kind of problem solving out of the box that when you're there on the day and something's missing and somebody says, man, we need a fucking tree in a window.
That's it.
You
Good
know.
job, Aaron.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's problem solving. And in point of fact, sometimes I was sitting there and I made as I said earlier, I'm a World War II junkie. So I'm like, I went up to San Francisco and I submarine there in the bay. And I took like 5,000 photos. I gotten permission from them to just be on that sub for like a day and a half. And I just took all these photos. And so what I did is I made a green screen table. And what I did is I laid it down, got the angle just the way it was in the photo, put a map over it with, some other, like a hat, et cetera, and took a picture, shot some video of a little mini scene to do a test where now it looks like I'm in the, control center, just below the conning tower. And so there you have the possibility of saying, wow, look at all this enhanced production value I've got. And it was a green screen table and a lot of photos I grabbed.
But see, that's an interesting point that you bring up. And that's something else that I think it needs to be kind of like, pounded into the minds of young folks. I mean, we all carry around 4K cameras in our pockets nowadays. And that sounds like it was a inspiration of opportunity would maybe be the best term for it. So you saw an opportunity, you took some pictures, you took some footage, and you either had an idea right then, or you at least had the foresight to think, I'm going to do this because I don't know when I'm going to get this chance again, and I might be able to use this shit later.
Well, I think that there is that to some degree. I mean, if you get a beauty shot and you find a bench in front of a beautiful sunset and you capture that, all of a sudden you have a chance to put a scene there. I think indeed it's almost like we each accumulate our own stock video and our own stock footage to use. Now we own it. That's not a bad place to go at all. In the case of this particular sub, I wanted to go up there and see, because I was looking at Adobe After Effects, using Element 3D and some other things that I could actually build a scene within that context. And more, if you look at Lion King and technology they're using, I mean, these are virtual stages, which have been around for about 10 years. I saw one at Universal. I went down to Orange County. They had one, and there was one other one. I can't remember. There were only 3 at one point. Mm-hmm. And it's pretty stunning to see what you can do that came from James Cameron onward to do this kind of work. And Lion King is, what is it, $200 million or $250 million? I'm not sure what it was, but it's going to be, instead of going to Chenonceau in France, in the chateau, and going there, you could actually go get photos and take precise measurements and start to actually lay things out to go, hey, here's the location that we're in, which is a lot cheaper to go someplace and do that, stitching these together in a virtual environment, and being able to shoot that way than anything else. And I think that's where a lot of things are going to go. And I think you get a lot of opportunity to enrich your film by doing that, by using this technology, if you know it.
And if you don't know it, just blame Joe.
That's Joe's problem. He should have taught us.
Unmute your mic there, Joe.
Yeah, you're right. I know, but I was muting my mic when you were coughing. So
I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I might be dying. And
I don't know if I muted your mic when you were coughing and didn't turn it off. But anyway, really interesting question from Scotty Busey, who we had on our show. His band was on our show. We want to shoot a second music video, but unlike our first music video, Killing Time, we don't have the help like we did for that. We have no budget, so do you think the idea of shooting on an iPhone is ridiculous?
Not at all.
Absolutely not.
What I would do is tend to think, and I don't know the song, obviously, or the context of the theme or the tone of the material, intended material of the song, but is there a way to take and have somebody sitting and having to look on their iPhone, kill time, as it were. I mean, that's part of the thing I just saw there. So they're killing time sitting on this thing while waiting for a ride, and then they somehow go into the phone. And can the phone be some part thematically of what you're shooting? Or do they shoot something because they're bored and that starts to capture the video? I mean, there's a lot of questions there about how you work the mechanics, but I would try and make using the phone part of the creative invention of the music video. I'm sure Cameron's
Well, what they're actually saying is their first video was killing time, and it was produced by a major company.
Oh, I
And
see. Okay.
now they're asking, they don't have that budget anymore. So using an iPhone, is it ridiculous to try to do that?
Not at all.
Do their second video?
No,
Nope.
not at all. It's not. But Michael makes a very good point, though. And I want to bridge the question with Michael's point that he was making really quickly. And I think you'll agree with me, Michael.
Yep.
What you're talking about is motivating it and just putting it right in the face. So in other words, for any shortcomings that you may have with shooting on an iPhone, like you can't change lenses, or your lighting isn't whatever, or whatever the fucking reason that you're worried about how it looks on your iPhone, you just put that right in the face of the viewer and motivate the fact that the thing is being shot on an iPhone by showing the fucking phone.
Absolutely. And right now, I mean, and to give them an idea, I was actually looking to shoot a feature film in Paris on my iPhone, and I got a mic that I could put into the iPhone.
I got one.
Like a shotgun mic.
Yep.
And I got a, where is it here? I just want to show you this. I have a tool called Filmic Pro. Have you used that?
Yeah, I actually love Filmic Pro.
Yeah.
I just got Premiere for the phone too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so you have some remarkable tools on a phone, and it's actually so astounding. So I wouldn't think so at all. I mean, I think you should be able to edit, on Adobe Premiere or whatever. I mean, I think the bigger the monitor, not editing on your iPhone, if you can avoid it, just it'll give you a better sense of composition, or if you need to tweak things. But I absolutely think you could do that. And I think Steven Soderbergh actually has shot at least one, if not two films on his iPhone.
Oh man, he's like the king of all this breakthrough shit. Remember K Street when he did K Street for HBO? And he was doing another show at the time, and he would like fly between the two shows, and he would write K Street on the flight. He'd read the newspaper, write the episode, edit it, put it through for approvals, and shoot everything, and then cut the episode. It was all he did. Every episode of K Street was done in 1 week.
Yeah,
based on a headline.
Yeah,
you know
I mean, this is the kind of guerrilla thinking that I think is essential, because what you also are trying to do, and you think about it, if you actually had to shoot on film, you might shoot a film every 2 years or 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever it is. But you have the ability now to gain all this enormous amounts of experience and to get better and better at your craft. It's like it's by far better to keep working and shooting like you doing your woodwork, where you're building the shelves and everything else, and you have to practice that. That's a heavily acquired skill, and it's really no different in the craft. And all of a sudden you will do something, and somebody just said anamorphic lenses for iPhones, and that's absolutely true. And there's Ron saying that, so he's absolutely right. And I had this thing here where I'm not sure if it works without the phone here, but it basically allows you to dial in. Let's see, dial in here, and you actually can pull out this particular lens here. This is a lens, and I have another one here somewhere. Oh, here, is this it? But that allows you to actually, here it is. This goes on my phone. Well, let's see, hold it back there. There we go. Okay. And it allows you to bring out a lens. And it's called a revolver because you can actually have 3 different kinds of lenses, and it just goes on the back of my phone, and you could just turn it as you use the phone. So it'll fit right here on my phone. I'll go back a little so you can see it actually a
Sure,
little better. Oh, okay, I'm all screwed up here. But it basically fits right here.
Yeah.
So it goes over the phone, and all of a sudden you have access to a polarizer. There's the polarizer, a wide angle, and a fisheye. And it just fits right on the back. And that's something that I've used considerably. And I certainly couldn't have gotten some buildings in if I went to Paris and I was going to shoot. And if you don't have this, you're not going to capture the building. You're going to get the front door. I mean,
Right.
because it's so close in.
Right.
But, here, and it just pops right off. I kind of like the metal one here because I can bang it around a bit more. But this fits right on and comes right off.
Well,
So these are kind of, and I've got some other stuff over here and somewhere.
I got to get one of those. Who makes
It's really, well,
Wait a second. We got questions, Michael, before you go on and on and on.
You just showed a gadget to a bunch of film.
That's awesome. Please share a link to the lens. And also, we got Mick saying, how are those lenses?
Well,
Well,
and
I
Mick
think
also
overall-
said we walk
overall-
around with a camera with a $350,000 Panavision from 1984 in our pockets, and he's dead right.
yeah. I mean, it's stunning. The resolution, the quality is good. I mean, if you like the film I was going to shoot in Paris, Joe, had to do with like a little bit of an espionage and a reporter. So the idea was that now I've taken the tone and the theme and kind of can use the format to be complementary to it. So if it's handheld, a bit gritty, a little off, you can almost, move the camera around to where, okay, where is he? Where's the subject? I mean, you can get that kind of a feel to it. So it would have been highly complementary to the look. And even if you look right now, a friend of mine was an executive producer on Delhi Crime, which is on Netflix. A very, very good show. I really enjoyed it. In a burgeoning market of India. And he said they never, and look it up on Netflix. He goes, I was working with him on a film this summer in Atlanta. And he goes, we never had a tripod, no sticks at all on that entire show. And we had no lights other than Kinoflows. Now, so if you're looking at Kinoflows, I got this thing here. Sorry, I'm stepping off here. I think it's in the garage. But I mean, I've just got all this equipment lying around here. This would be like camera in heaven, It'd be like, even light.
I have a couple of those. I fucking love them.
These are great. And rechargeable. And then I got a light wand, which actually has a really cool feature on it. And that feature has to do with you could program it and change the color to red. And guess what? It's a police bar.
Right.
And it's this $90 wand, and it'll light up, and there you go. But you actually can program it, and then it'll just blink. And if you put it behind you on top of your car, you got a police car, and you go get a shot and then move on.
Can you put him full screen so people can see that, Joe?
Oh,
Or
I absolutely
you and
can.
him,
I'm sorry.
Even you and him?
No,
So that's this light
I'm actually
here.
gonna go grab something real quick. I'll be right back. So
All
just
right.
talk about that. Like, talk about the fact that the shit that we can do with this stuff is fucking crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. Michael, go ahead. I mean, what you can do with that alone.
Oh, I mean, here I've got not only that. The nice part about this light is you have the dimmer and you have the color temperature. So I could brighten it up, and you can see it's going to blow it out pretty good here. And at the same time, I could change the color temperature. So from I want it nice and warm because it's that kind of a feel, and I could dial it right in. So that and if I even put a little material in front of it, or some tin foil strips, all of a sudden what I could do is create a fireplace look to some degree. I mean, this is the kind of variables. The strange part is, if you're in the 80s, and I remember a friend of mine and I were working on a film, and he had an Arri 2C, which is a pretty noisy camera. Certainly it wasn't a Panavision by any stretch, but I remember he did the short film, and people really liked the short film. They never asked what kind of camera you were using. That's irrelevant, right? The story is what matters. And I've certainly seen some big budget movies these days that I go, I don't even care about the story. I mean, I don't care about the movie. I don't care about the story. It doesn't mean anything to me. And then I've seen some stuff that's been much more moderate in terms of the cost and everything else. And I really like the story. So, you know, and we've seen that with VidCon. The video conference here in Anaheim comes up in June, which I advocate everybody to go to if you can, possibly. It's just extraordinary, one of the best conferences. And so it's not the technology, it's the story and the style that's going to
Well, you have a bunch of people that said that they use those lights. Sean is saying, love those lights, and he uses them. Mick said he used them on Vengeance.
Which is
and JP said, I have one of those as well. It'll follow you when shooting a scene by yourself. It's really cool. And Michael, that's a beautiful idea. I know some musicians who use those for background lighting when others go out.
There you go. Yeah. And I mean, this is the kind of versatility where you could basically take the lighting kit, and I even have, you know, for sound, I use lavs, and I have a couple lavs and a sound recorder.
Yep.
But it can be a one-man band. And all of a sudden you could basically put whatever you're going to film in your suitcase almost.
I got one of these. Have you seen these, Michael? This little Osmo Pocket guy right here. It's got a 3-axis gimbal on it, and it's got active track. Terry Gerald, actually from the Drone Cav, has helped me kind of figure out some of the problems that I had with this. Apparently, there was a firmware upgrade for it, and he got me kind of squared away with this thing. And this thing is phenomenal. It has what's called, you can turn the camera forward or backwards, and it has what's called active track on it. So, for instance, if I want to shoot you and you're going to be crossing the room and grabbing a hammer off the wall, I can frame you and select it, sort of highlight you and tell it to track you. And this gimbal will automatically track you in the smoothest camera motion you've ever seen. That literally looks like I'm on a fucking dolly.
I haven't seen them that small. I've seen some about like auto tracking, but
yeah, and this will track you across the room through your. You don't leave, as long as you don't leave the frame.
And what's the name of that?
It's the Osmo Pocket by DJI, and they make a lot of drones and stuff.
I've got, I think, a couple of their drones.
I mean, this thing is like, look how small this is. Here it is next to this microphone. Like, look how small this thing is, and it fits right in your pocket. This thing, I think, costs $300, $350, but it shoots 4K. It shoots slow motion. It shoots low light. It shoots everything. And I mean, you can even just see how smooth the movement on this gimbal is. It's phenomenal. It hooks right up to your phone. And these are my new little obsession now that Terry's got me squared away with trying to figure out how to use the fucking thing.
I think that's fantastic. I got to check into it. I mean, the question is, I'm going to write it down right now, but the question is you certainly have so many options for this kind of gear. And what I find very fascinating is, I know one thing I was going to tell you, because when you look at the initial start of the film industry, you had image. And I always remember, I mean, that was key, imagery. And I always remember when I read that they did this short 10-minute film, whatever it was, in 1905, 1910, whatever it was, of a train coming towards the camera. And they showed it, and the people dove into the aisles because they thought the train was actually kind of coming through the image and going to hit them.
Yeah, it was sorcery.
Yeah, sorcery. Psychologically, it was so stunning to them about the realism of it. And then what you had, and when sound came in, people said, great, we got sound. So you notice how films got much more talky. Dinner at 8 was a big one. A number of these other films got very talky. And then they had to go back to image, which I think to some extent would be like the films of Michael Curtiz and Alfred Hitchcock.
Sure.
Because they actually had to rely on imagery. So when you're actually doing a practiced imagery, you also get a film that one way or the other, somebody in some other part of the world understands the Hitchcockian analogy of if you want to create stress, and you're in the studio, you and I are in the same studio talking, across from each other at a table, and Joe comes in and plants a bomb because he's tired of us bitching and moaning at him. So
Fuck
he
Joe.
plants. What's that?
Fuck Joe.
I'm giving him ideas now, but if he,
I don't think that's the first time Joe's had that idea.
apparently not. He's probably like on Amazon now looking for timers. Trying to, deliver tomorrow. Prime. I've got Prime. But if you take the bomb and put it on the desk between us and talking, and the audience knows, it's suspense. If it just blows up, it's a thriller. But the suspense really, Michael, I got one more question for you. No, don't answer the question. The audience says, get out of there. And and what is ultimately the manipulations of the filmmaker to evoke emotions,
Right.
and visuals to do so.
Right, to do that using the visuals. When I was young and studying this stuff, a guy who taught me some stuff when I was very young, my dad told me to watch a bunch of movies with no audio.
Yep, absolutely.
And if the story still translates to you, then the filmmaker has done their job as a filmmaker.
Yeah, wise words indeed.
And I would watch movies like 2001. I would watch the Godfather movies. I watched my father's movies with no audio just to watch the visuals and see if it carried me through the same story. And, it's interesting. It's really an interesting exercise if nobody's ever done that.
Yeah.
To actually do that, because it is a visual medium. The sound is there we now live in a world where sound is 50% of your movie, if not,
Yeah.
I guess visuals are 100% of your movie and sound is now 100% of your movie. So you need 200%
to actually sell it.
Make 100% now. What? Huh? Fucking Joe.
Me?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is kind of universal for. Oh well, hell, you can't see it. Wrap it up. We're at our limit.
What are you doing? What are you doing, Joe?
I was doing one of these things, but
I was right and you were wrong there, Cameron.
Yeah.
But
it didn't look like that. He was doing.
Thank you, Sean. Poor Joe.
All right, Michael. Well, again,
I'm going to bring everybody up right now because we still have people here, and it was great having everyone on. But Michael, in particular, do you have? Well, go ahead, George. Say what you're going to say. I'm going to give Michael full screen.
What did? How do you know what I was going to say?
Well, you're going to say on social media, or where can we follow you? Where can we watch?
Well, I was going to say, Michael, it looks like we've spun off on a tangent again. So hopefully you don't mind coming back as a regular.
Absolutely. No. I really enjoyed it.
On the show. I love doing this with you, and I think other people are enjoying it too.
Absolutely. Obviously.
Wagner Wiles there as well. And,
yeah, I'd like you to meet everybody else here. We've got Lance and Sam from the Wagner Wiles.
Oh, okay. First of all, Mick.
Yes, Joe is jerking it.
Mick. Yes. Thank you, Michael. Mick. I brought you on to here. Damn it. Don't make me regret it.
So
anyway, Michael, social media pages, or if people wanted to follow you. Oh.
Let's see, michaelmandaville.com. That's where I put up some articles, etc. Under Instagram, you'll find me at Mickey Blue Eyes. So that's where I'm there. And I also answer a lot of questions on Quora. I kind of like that forum, and LinkedIn. So those are the primary ones I do. Sometimes I'm doing some more videos, but I kind of like that written forum. But those are the places you'll find me. And I want to be there at the Indie Brigade mentorship program too. I know that's something Cameron and I spoke about. So
yes,
that
is
awesome.
Excited.
Very
excited. Good, Joe? Did I get the good plug in there?
Well, I think you did. Well, you wait. I'm sorry. You forgot one thing, and if you don't plug it, I'm going to be.
Go.
There you go. All right. Thank you, Michael. Michael, it was great having you on again. We look forward to having you on in the future. I'm going to bow you out right now. That was awesome. And so the other flagships, how do you want to put that, George, of the show?
You haven't landed on a term yet there, pal.
Okay. I'm waiting.
We're going to call this the Pillars of the Indie Brigade at this point. How about that?
All right.
You guys like that? You guys want to be fucking
I
pillars?
like that.
Fuck yeah, we're pillars of the Indie Brigade. Fuck yeah.
Just let me know when you're making more than I am so I can bow down to you and we can talk.
Joe, you're the foundation.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, hell.
Yeah, see, now
I'm at a loss, so.
Yeah, that's
Wait a
how much
minute.
I love you.
Drink, Joe.
Yeah, there you go. While he's distracted, everybody, thanks for watching tonight. Terry, thank you. Lance, Sam, thank you for coming and joining. And thank you.
Before we do that, the Wagners, plug what you got. Anything? The Indie Brigade, Romero Pictures.
Joe, that's for you, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
There's no sound on Lance and Sam. Unmute your mic.
That's
Can you hear us?
them.
Yeah.
Ah, there you go. See, that wasn't me.
Testes. Yes.
Gonna bring you full screen. Well, nope, I took you off screen. Let's do full screen.
We are on the major platforms: Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. We're also very much well engaged with the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade. We're the pillars now.
I think he needs another drink.
I'm a little tipsy.
It's a beautiful thing, brother. All right.
It is. Terry.
I love y'all. Love you, Terry.
Hey,
We love you guys as well. All right, we're dipping them out. Terry, go.
Man, that's hard to follow. Well, of course, Romero Pictures Indie Brigade, Drone Cav, Facebook, Terry Lee Gerald. For some reason, I put my middle name in there, but hey, it's stuck. And my website is blackdogdroneops.com. And if you have any drone questions, anything close to that, feel free to reach out. Ping me, friend me on Facebook, whatever. I'm here. I'm accessible. And that brought up a good point about the Osmo Pocket and that stuff. I'm going to do some stuff in the drone cab for that. So it looked like there might be some interest. And hey, it's kind of a ground-based drone, so why not?
Absolutely, Terry, and thank you so much. And we're also going to be adding Terry into the mentor program as well when it comes to drone technology and drone needs. If you need anything specialized from him, you will be able to book private sessions with Terry.
All right. Thank you very much, Terry. We'll catch you next time.
Sounds great. Thrilled to be here. Thanks.
All righty.
Joe, I think that was a pretty good episode. I think it was a pretty solid
whatever.
season 2 premiere. Okay, let's try that again. Joe, I think that episode was all right.
It was fucking awesome.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. See? This is why we're awesome together. Is there anything else you want to touch on besides the fact that people are listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade with your host, George C. Romero and Joe?
Yes, I absolutely would. I am putting you front and center. Where can we be found?
Well, once again, you're listening to the Romero Pictures Indie Brigade podcast with your host, George C. Romero and Joe Ridgely. There is only one Joe Ridgely, and he's ours. And you can find everything you need to know about the Indie Brigade and everything we've talked about tonight at romeropictures.com. We couldn't have made it any fucking easier for anybody. Just go to romeropictures.com. Links to everything you need to find are there. We made it as simple and easy to navigate as possible. Even Joe can find his way around the website now.
Wow. That's some pressure, man. So will you please exit us now?
Will, are you done? Is there anything else you want me to talk about?
Well, I don't know. We're on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, RadioPublic, Breaker, YouTube, Facebook. No, I think we covered it all.
Boom, that's it. We're everywhere. Tune the fuck in, and until next time, everybody, please fuck off.